Good evening. Welcome to Not Another Rangers podcast. I'm your host, Gary. And on a weekend when we when we gained 3 points on Celtic, I don't really know if that's the right terminology, but over the last 2 weeks, we've closed 3 points against Hearts and 3 points against Celtic, which now puts us into second place. As Scott sent us yesterday, we're now second favourites for the league title, and 7 games to go. It's been a good position. So it should be a positive pod, lots of goals to talk about, lots of incident, not so much about referees, although a little bit. And more importantly, we have Cameron back from Nepal. Cameron, tell us that we've got an hour to kill, so you can get. If we've been away for 4 weeks, you can talk us through day by day if you want.
Yeah, but the frustrating thing is that whilst I was away, we didn't win a game. So that was the sad reality.
That is true. Maybe there's something in that, so you can't go away again.
Yeah, I can only go away between June and July.
How was it? How was your time away?
Oh, I loved it, mate. It was amazing. Nepal's an amazing country. Spent lots of time with the Mrs. Family, which was really good. Just amazing to see a different culture, really. And ended up staying out there longer than planned, but not a bad thing.
So for the uneducated amongst us, which is me and Scott, give us an interesting fact about Nepal that nobody would know.
Couldn't tell you, mate.
Nah. I couldn't tell you. She's right behind you. Just shout at her. Tell us something.
No, I couldn't tell you the fact that nobody knows. I couldn't tell you, mate.
What's the currency? What do they use in Nepal?
Rupees.
There we go. What was it? Did you visit anywhere particularly?
Loads, mate. Yeah, I went to Pokhara, Gandruk, Kathmandu, obvious, Bandipur, Lalitpur, Bhaktapur, loads of these places. If you don't know where they are, Google them. They're breathtaking. Yeah.
I can't even spell them.
No, Kathmandu.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I'll just spell them.
I've heard of Kathmandu. The rest of them meant nothing to me. Glad you enjoyed it, and obviously the circumstances around the world meant you were there a couple of weeks longer than you were intending. So, this is the dedication that he's got. He only get back after 48 hours travelling last night, and then yesterday morning, and back on the pod tonight. He's missed it that much after last month. Tuned into every episode, been on the group chat, but never actually had a chance to actually be back on. So, nice to be back.
And the thing was, whenever you guys were podding, I was asleep because they're like 6 hours ahead. So I'd wake up in the morning, watch the pod, and just scream at the phone.
You should do it. Most other people do. Put it on so they go to sleep. I thought that's what a lot of viewers normally did. Help them get to sleep. Love yourself, Scott. How are you? How was your weekend?
That was all right, Gary. That was all right. Back to work today, so not always the best. I hate Mondays. I've always hated Mondays, but no, it was good. Watched a bit of football, and that was good. Everybody I watched, I enjoyed, and take it fair, Gary. So I didn't obviously listen to Ibrox, but I've seen the game. I've seen the highlights. Listened to a few pods a day in the work, and it's good. It's good positivity coming out of Rangers for a change. Even the fans, I've seen that, and I think because there's not many games left, and I'm not saying we've turned the corner, but the performance I thought on Saturday was really good. I know people are saying it's from Aberdeen, but you still have to beat them. I mean, we went to Livingston and do you know what I mean? So you can only beat what's in front of you. I thought Rangers turned up. Even the goal Aberdeen scored, it could have set us back, but never. I thought we looked very strong.
I think we played well, and I think it's interesting, because there's always been that debate the last couple of weeks about performances versus result, and there's been lots of talk to Danny Roll, isn't there, about you've drawn all these games despite probably playing well, beat St Mirren despite playing poorly, and then probably Saturday 5:45 was the most complete performance. Where the performance was good, as well as the result being probably what it should have been for a change. So, in terms of where we're at, it's probably going into a national break. It's nice going into a national break, Cameron, with a bit of positivity, because there's been too many over the last couple of seasons. When it gets to the international break, you're left to stew for a fortnight over what's happened.
Yeah, it just gives a bit of momentum going into the break and just something to come back to. Because, like you say, if you'd have dropped points or got beat, it just sits and festers. And I don't think that does anybody any particular favours. to be honest. But it gives us that bit of breathing space, and also as well it gives us that thing of if when we come back and if we beat Dundee United at home, we got top of the league, albeit maybe for a couple of hours. But that's still, considering that we had the worst start in our history for 50 years. Nobody thought that at the start of April we'd be saying that we're top of the league, albeit for a few hours.
It doesn't matter. It puts scoreboard pressure and all these things that they talk about. Do you know? So if you play first, it gives you a bit of advantage. A home game against Dundee United is one that should be winning, with all due respect to Dundee United, who yesterday looked outstanding, has to be said. When I watched them, they were a very enjoyable game. I was quite impressed by them, and their pitch was like playable. I think it's the best you can say about that. We will talk, I suppose, about the game in a bit of detail. I say, well, then we'll come back maybe and circle around some of the other stuff potentially about where we're at in terms of the league. The league is much sense. In terms of team, Scott, there was one change we talked. I think we predicted the change. Actually, we might even have got it right, which isn't very often the case. That Asgard would come in for Gassama with Scott Wilson probably being injured.
I think we just needed a change on the right side, didn't we? It wasn't working with Asgard. It wasn't working with Gassama. Asgard, sorry, it's Olsen. It wasn't working with Gassama. And Asgard's done well against Aberdeen this season. He scored a goal. He scored up a Pataudry and stuff. So he thought maybe bring him back in. It's at home, and he done okay. To be fair to him, he did okay. It wasn't bad, and that's all we can ask for. I mean, I think Danny Rowe does think there's potential, and he is a player, but it's the other side of his game which we keep talking about. Gary, he has to do better. But no, he was okay on Saturday.
I thought he played well, actually. I thought he had a decent enough game, Joe. People are quick to criticise because of previous performances, but I think you can see every time he gets the ball, he can turn, he's physically strong on the ball. The problem is he maybe just doesn't get involved as much as you'd want him to. I think he's one of the players, Cameron, that we've talked about a lot of this season. We're not quite sure what he actually does, because the player you thought you were getting was this kind of creative, high-scoring central midfielder, attacking midfielder, but he's probably not quite hit those heights.
No, I mean, we could say that for a lot of players, couldn't we? Especially at the start of the season, we didn't really know what they were. I think sometimes with players like Asgard, you just got to persist with them a little bit. I think time out the team will do him has done him the world of good, to be honest. I prefer him personally playing a bit higher up the pitch. I think a lot of times this season he's been collecting the ball too deep. He's turned the ball over a lot. I think once you play him higher up the pitch, I think he's a bit more effective, especially in tighter areas. He likes to play quick. So I think you're just starting to see Danny, maybe his standard of coaching, starting to coach players, to take him out the firing line, give him a bit of confidence, give him a bit of work on the training ground. And hopefully he can come good. I can just hope that Scott Olsen can follow that similar ilk for these 2 weeks now. If he can maybe turn a corner and start showing us what he can do, what we know he can do, but just start doing it in the blue shirt. But I'd like to see more from Asgard, maybe not this season, because I don't think he's not someone I would bet on at the moment to perform in big moments, but it definitely gives us something to think about going into next season, because I know a lot of people would move him on in the summer, but hopefully if he can show us a couple of glimpses, it might keep giving a bit more confidence.
Yeah. No, I think I think it was good to see him get a game and play reasonably well, because again, people's memory was all about him playing really poorly the Celtic game and getting off at half time and struggling after that. So easing him back into the team, getting a bit of time and performing all right, and he can add value over the rest of the season. Hopefully, like a lot of them can. It's a bit like your Gassama argument as we come on to later on. He came off the bench, but was really good for the 10-15 minutes he was on, and created a couple of things potentially. Obviously, the disallowed goal. So there's a lot of players that can. It's not just the first 11 scoring a barn. I think one of the things we'll talk about later on was the subs were really good, Scott. So we made 5 subs. I think all 5 of them came on and contributed, and having that depth of squad, and that was without Sterling, Suter, and somebody else. Diomande all not coming on. So when we actually brought in 5 subs, and those 3 not getting on the park shows kind of a bit of depth there.
It does. I also think, Gary, sometimes it's easier coming on when you're winning. Because you come on to prove a point as well, and you're coming to a game where everybody's on a high because they're winning. Come on, maybe drawing or losing. So I thought they all come on and did well. I think Gassama's probably going to be an impact player from now on. I wouldn't start him in games. I think he's better coming on later on. He can get more of an impact, and he come on the left hand side, which he seems to enjoy more. You see him with a run, he was unlucky with a shot, and Miofsky come on and took his goal well, even though it was disallowed for reasons. I've not got a clue. I don't even talk about handball because it's just fucking pointless. but they took the play back that far. I thought they were going to start the game again. I mean, how many phases, guys, you go back in the game? I mean, I heard today if Aberdeen had cleared it and then we get the ball at Partons, so again it's a goal, but because Aberdeen didn't clear it, but they'd had a chance to. I mean, it's 23 seconds between a handball and him scoring. I just don't understand the rules in football, and me, we don't say aye anymore. It's finished. It's finished. I hate VR. I hate referees, and I just hate a handball.
So before we delve into the game, Cameron, you play football, so you probably got a different interpretation at times. So at the game, I thought it was handball when I seen it. You know, when I thought my daughter's that's going to get pulled back, but obviously Scott says the game went on for a while. There was a couple of attempted clearances by Aberdeen that didn't go anywhere. Then I think it's got 23 seconds of us. I didn't realise it was exactly that before the finish. What was your take on that disallowed goal? Do you think it was? I've seen people referencing the Shankland one and things like that. The Shankland one at the end of the day, we thought it was a foul, so it should have been pulled back. So I don't really know if you're really comparing like for like.
I think it depends what shirt you're wearing on the day. To be fair, I get the arguments from both. Like they have had multiple chances to clear it because he's hit it and then it's gone out wide and they dribbled in. So they have had chances, but I do also get the argument of Aberdeen have gone to launch one over the top of our defence and potentially into our final third, and it's hit Barron's arm and we've regained possession and the goals left from that. So I always say it's just with a handball rule, it's not clear enough. I don't think, or maybe Willie Collum's interpretation or the instructions he's given to his referees is not clear enough because it's too inconsistent on a regular basis. And I don't think the referees know what to do. I mean, we all know that whenever someone goes to the monitor, the decision's getting overturned. It's very rare in Scottish football that they don't get overturned. But in a personal opinion, I think it is handball. I know that's probably going to ruffle a few feathers. I think it is handball because he's booted it. It's going in our final third. Aberdeen are going on the attack. It's hit Conor Barron's arm, which is out. It's away from his body, I think, from the pictures I've seen, from what I watched. And we get possession of the ball in their final third and go on and score from it. So I think if it happened to us, we'd be screaming saying it's handball. So that's what I mean when I think it depends which side you're on the day. So it's contentious either way.
So I've seen this, Scott, I've seen this a lot of times actually. Then we've had 20 goals. I've heard this a few times. We've had 20 goals chopped off this season or VAR'd or whatever the things. And I think the nearest one maybe be 4 or 5. As Cameron says, you know, I suppose are our attacker and players just keep making mistakes and actually being offside or handballing, or is there something more unlucky in that sense? Then, the best way to put it.
No, I just think the referees are pissed, and so is VAR. I think Willie Collum should resign. I actually agree with you and Cameron when he said that today. I just think Willie Collum can't do any better. Willie Collum has to step down because if anybody else in that position, they would be told you're not doing good enough. And I get what you're saying, Gary, with our forwards, but I don't know how many it is. You'd have to double check. But how many times has the VR show started and we've got an apology to say it should have been overturned? So you can't blame the strikers. You have to blame the officials. And it all comes from Willie Collum because he's the man in charge. So if it's like any football manager, players are doing bad, they get sacked. His referees are doing bad, he should be sacked, and it should be all overlooked.
I think this position, because I think what's his name? Howard Webb in England, he has a similar job that Willie Collum does. I think it's the most pointless position I've ever seen. To be honest, I don't see the point in what Willie Collum's doing, in what Howard Webb's doing. They're just a mouthpiece, to be honest. And that show he does is just pathetic, in my opinion. If you want to start scrutinising referees and give them interviews, get referees to do interviews after matches. Because all you're basically doing is just dropping your colleagues in the shit every month. It's just pathetic, in my eyes.
You know what I think about it, Gary? I know they do it in England, that the referees come out and speak and tell the crowd why. They don't do that here. No. I'm not saying you're going to be less upset and they're going to be less angry, but at least telling them why. But they don't. They just point to the circle either for a goal or point away and the game carries on with no explanation.
Yeah.
So you might understand a bit more, but don't even want to tell us.
No, I think we all know the VAR rules. For in England, you watch an English game, then they barely use VAR, don't they? They kind of stopped using it altogether unless there's something really, and even then, they don't get involved all the time. I think the problem is we know that if they go to the monitor, they're going to pick that decision. And that's not to say this one was wrong, because I probably agree with Cameron. I can understand why it was given as disallowed. But in general, when they go to the monitor, they know that they're. And having watched the Wally Collins show at the weekend there, when John Beaton was trying to make his case that it was a foul, Kevin Clancy was making clear that no, there was nothing to it. Just give a yellow card on it. And I think that's part of the problem. So it's more about the implementation we've said. So I mean, that's not a focus. That was just picking up that goal because it popped into my head. But in terms of the game itself,
something bad, Gary, between now and the end of the season. And if it's us or Hearts, I'll be brushed over. If it's them, only a big investigation. So I hope they drop more points before that, because they're already throwing their toys at the pram. But see if it costs them something really bad, there'll be an investigation then. And I don't care if people say I'm biased or I've got blue tinted glasses, but there will be an investigation in if it costs Celtic rather than anybody else.
Well, I won't, because it doesn't happen, so you'll be all right. I think I'll be all right. I don't think you need to worry on that one. I think we'll clear that one by the case. So, in terms, before we get into the game then, Cameron, right, you've been away for a month. There's been a couple of draws, as you said, during that time, a couple of disappointing results. I actually think performances were pretty decent, probably surprisingly enough, over that time. We are now 7 games to go. We're 3 points behind Hearts, 2 points ahead of Celtic, with a better goal difference than both. How confident are you that we are now on our way to the league title?
Yeah, ask me that once the split fixtures get announced. No, I've always been confident in Danny Rowell. I mean, I think even if he's won the most points out of any team since he's been appointed, and I think that kind of is testament to him. The added goal difference, in my opinion, I always believe that's an extra point, to be quite honest. I've always believed that. So I think, it probably sounds stupid, but I think realistically we're probably about 2 points behind Hearts, to be fair. Because like I say, at the moment, we've got the better goal difference. That almost gives you an extra point. I think the key thing for us is just hope that the split fixtures are a bit more favourable. The last thing you want is Parkhead and Tynecastle away 2 games in a row, and for that to be your first 2 games of the split. Personally, I'd like them to be a bit split out. Pardon the pun. So I am confident in a way, because I do think Hearts will drop points, because, you know, they've won, I think that was a 4th match in a row, they've won 1-0. Mm-hmm. So I do get the idea that they keep winning, but I do think at some point your luck just does run out, where those 1-0 suddenly it becomes 0-0, or even a team will equalise last minute. So I am confident in us. I'm hoping that little dip in form that we had whilst I was away, it's just, that's not going to happen again from now until the end of the season. But I definitely think we've got huge reason to be optimistic that we could actually pull it off.
I'm going to ask you a question, but rephrase it, Scott, and ask it a different way. So with 7 games to go, we are 3 points behind Hearts, 2 points ahead of Celtic. We have to go to Tynecastle and go to Parkhead after the split. Do you think that we should be winning it now, based on the fact that we should, if we don't beat Hearts, we should be going to Tynecastle to beat Hearts to win a league title, and the fact that we've got that 2 point gap over Celtic and a vastly superior goal difference?
I'm going to say we should be winning it. We're back in it. But I think Hearts are still in pole position, because they're still top of the league and they still get points in the bag over us. So they can afford to draw. Do you know what I mean? Hearts, we can't really afford any more slip-ups, because there's less and less games happening. So we're back in it. We're clear second favourites. But anything can happen, Gary, because next week, as we've seen, we went to Livingston, we thought we were going to win, we never went to Motherwell, threw away a lead. I mean, so you've seen that as well. So every weekend could be something different. And Hearts winning 1-0, 1-0. That's just the way. That's what Derek McInnes does. That's what that team does. And it's going to take Hearts will probably drop points away from home, then more than they will at home, because they're decent at home. They don't concede many goals, Hearts. So I think it could go. But I think Celtic aren't out of it yet. They're still there, because everybody's saying the same. If we won all the remaining games, we win the league. And it's still the same as last week. But we've got a better chance because we're closer to Hearts. You know what I mean? So, but I think we just have to still take each game as it comes and take care of ourselves first, and then see what others do until we actually pull them.
I suppose what I'm saying, if you have a chance to win a league title by going to Tynecastle and winning, Rangers with the squad they have and the players they have, that should be a very doable situation. I know Hearts have done well this season, but at the end of the day, if you were giving me the chance to say go to Tynecastle and win the game to win a league title, and we failed to do that, that would be poor on our part, I would suggest.
No, really, they're top of the league for a reason. Do you know what I mean? I'm top of the league by a fluke, and they've been there for a long, long time, so you can't discount them. You're starting to sound like Charlie McGrew here.
I'm not discounting them. I'm saying in terms of quality player, in terms of everything that goes with it. Do you know? I think we should, if we can't go to Tynecastle and win, we don't deserve to win the league fundamentally.
I think the problem. I think the only concern that I have about playing Hearts is they don't concede many goals, and just sometimes I feel with us, from an attacking perspective, we're not 100% at it all the time. I do think we struggle a little bit for creativity. We've got two great big lumps up top who can't really seem to score, unless it's against Celtic or Hearts, amazingly. So that's the only slight concern for me that I have playing against Hearts. In fact, the defensive record, I think they've got the best defence in the league. I just think from an attacking perspective, at times we can be quite frustrating to watch.
No, I think certainly Ibrox have been pretty good in most cases. You know, even if the results haven't been fully there. And maybe when we talk about guys like Gassama and Asgard, all these other ones, they actually play better at Ibrox. There's more space and there's a bit more fluidity. Whereas away from home is where we seem to get bogged down a lot of time, and that's where we've been quite stuffy. But anyway, we'll come back to that later on. So going into the game itself, we started pretty well, I thought, Scott. We first 10 minutes or so, we were a lot of control, not really a lot of chances. Chamiti has a header. Chamiti then has a shot he hits by the post, if I remember rightly, and a couple of shots blocked and things like that. We started well, pretty dominant, very dominant, in fact, although not necessarily creating huge swathes of chances.
I've seen a few people criticising Chamiti. To me, he done okay. He has to take the goal. See the one he goes through with his foot, he shoots it to the goal. He's near side. He wants to go. It doesn't go across the keeper. The header. He was just, I think he was going too quick for the header, and then he didn't get over it to get it down. He was rising. So, but the shot he has to do better. Gary, this is the goals that for the goals he scored, we expect better for that chance. You know what I mean? Because he's scored some quality goals, and probably one of his goals he scored against Celtic is going to be goal of the season. Not just for Rangers, maybe for the whole of Scottish football, but he has to do better with other chances, and that's probably tells you he's not a out-and-out goal scorer. He'll come up with big moments, but he doesn't score the easier ones for somebody with his ability.
Or doesn't get the same amount of chances as somebody else that does score lots of goals, and then when he misses, it's more pronounced.
Maybe, but I think he has to do better. I think he has, if he wants to continue leading the line, I think he has to chip in with more goals. We need more goals for the front too, and I think he's a main focus, so he has to chip in more, or the manager might change it and put somebody else to him, or somebody else next to him. I don't know, but he has to take his chances more. That's my only. He's a young boy still learning. We probably will make money on him, but for the goals he scored, I expect him to do better sometimes.
No, I've said before, I'm a big fan of him. I like what he does. I think his touch and his movement, his pace, his strength, he's got all the attributes. Now, whether he puts it all together or not, if it's a Celtic Hearts game only, as we go into the rest of the season, I'll take that. But I think he does need to do more. I think he does well to get in the positions like he did on Saturday. For the header, good movement. For the one he chests it down well and hits a shot, but drills it to a near post. So he's doing good things to get there. Sometimes he's not actually then finishing it. I'm trying to remember what happens then. When we then can have a lot more domination. Tav has a shot to keep us out of the camera, if that's before then or after it. And then we get our first goal 30 odd minutes in. Aberdeen have offered nothing, I think, other than 1 4-on-2 attack, which Giga done phenomenal at. Raskin plays a lovely ball. Robbins a nice touch. And the good thing about Robbins, as we've said many times, is it doesn't just hit the ball across. He actually picks out Moore's shot's blocked, and Chukwani, a brilliant finish. I don't think it got enough credit over the last couple of days. It's been right in front of, right behind it. Sorry, the way he caressed the ball at the back of the net with all those guys in front of him was a really good finish. It was very easy just to blast it over the bar.
Yeah, I so far I haven't been Chukwani's biggest fan, to be honest. But the game that I watched against Aberdeen, it looked like a player who's finally coming into it, in my opinion, or started to offer the team something. And it's funny he scores a goal like that the same week that someone compares him to Paul Pogba. Yeah. So, no, he took his goal really well. It just goes to show that sometimes don't need to lash at it. Just use the pace that's on the ball, side foot it into the corner, especially through a crowd. But yeah, I'm just hoping he can be a bit more of a catalyst for us in midfield, because I think sometimes when your front two aren't scoring, I think sometimes that's where you look to your midfield to make runs in behind, offer something different. And I think we've been lacking that all season, to be honest. Midfield runners.
It's funny for the last couple of seasons, just saying that there, we've talked often about not enough other people scoring, Cameron. Last season it was Cherny and Bessers. I think the season before that it was just the strikers. And we kept saying we need midfielders, defenders, everybody else. I don't have, obviously, but we need other people to be scoring. And actually this season we've got a mix of goals across the team, and the strikers are not scoring.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, look at the season with 155. Multiple people on double digits throughout the team. Yeah, we've got multiple people scoring, but they're probably less than 7.
Yeah,
which is a concern. And I maintain with Chimiti, he's not going to get you 20 goals a season. He just won't do. He's not that type of striker. He'll maybe he might do it once in his career, but he's never going to get you 20 goals a season. He is what he is. He's a big hold-up striker. He can link the play. He's a presence. Nadiri, I don't know. Time will tell if he's the same. They're both big athletes. But yeah, the goals definitely is a concern because they seem to just dry up at the worst possible time.
I'll stick with you, Cameron, because you've not been here. So Nadiri, we come to the second half, so we dominate the first half. No corners, no shots from Celtic from Aberdeen, as far as I remember, and we score pretty early in the second half. Now, if you watch the game in commentary, Michael Stewart was his brilliant best when he says how good Olasanya's doing holding the ball up, and Raskin takes it off him and plays the ball to Nadiri. Nadiri runs, lovely assist, and the goal for Mikey Moore. Now, I suppose two things. One, your thoughts on Nadiri over the last month, and then obviously on the goal, just your thoughts on the goal.
Well, on the goal, it was a great touch by Nadiri. That's kind of what you want your striker, dropping deep. I think that's what that's his job. I think that's what he's been told to do. So I think it's good to kind of see something from him. Obviously, Moore takes his goal really well. Thoughts on Nadiri? He just seems to be a bit of a bulldog at times. He chases after everything, which is brilliant. But I sometimes feel with him he's not 100% match fit. And he's just constantly running, and you can see as the game goes on, his touch gets worse from what I've seen. To be honest, he gets in good positions and what have you, but he just doesn't quite have that finishing touch. I mean, and again, I suppose he's maybe just getting up to speed. He did come from the 3rd division in Germany. So there is an element of maybe he's still developing, but I still just worry with that front two, that they're both very young, very inexperienced, and I don't see a finishing instinct from either of them.
No, I think, Scott, we talked on Friday about Nadiri's a bit of criticism, and it's interesting listening to some of the comments since then. Today, as on Saturday's game, people are saying it's probably his best game he's played. I think as Cameron says, his work rate's phenomenal. He does probably. Oh, it reminds me. You ever remember Nacho Novo used to run about all the time, and then be knackered by the time it actually came to the shots, whereas Chris Boyd would stand in the middle of the goals and finish. And I remember watching Rutulit years and years ago talking in an interview saying he's like a good striker doesn't run about. He stays mentally sharp in the box waiting for the chance. And football's not like that anymore. But I think that's one.
Berbatov was the laziest player I've ever seen in my life, but he just was always there when you needed him.
Aye, Chris. Well, Scott watched Chris Boyd every week, and he was. He didn't done nothing other than put the ball in the back of the net. It's fair to say. But Nadiri, I think we're kind of getting used to Nadiri, what type of player he is, and he is a workhorse. His movement's good, his touch is good, his chases down lost causes. He's only had about half a dozen shots in the 6 games he's been there, I think. None of them have really been clear-cut chances.
I think Nadiri's been asked to play a position Gary wasn't maybe familiar with before he came, because he was kind of, when he was in Germany, he was their team's main striker, but he came to Ibrox and he's been asked to play secondary role to Chimiti. So he's doing a lot of work, dropping deep, linking up play, holding up the play, tracking back. So he's doing a lot of that, and I think the goals will come for the boy. I really like him. I think as a player, and I know people, but I think he's a really good player. I think for the money we got him for, is going to be a steal as well. And at least when he's come in January, he's hit the ground running, as in a way where he's figured out what he's going to do with the team. He doesn't go hiding. He always tries. And do you know what way I like him? I think we've got a play in our hands. I think it'll be time before he starts hitting the back in it. But obviously, been asked by the manager to do something else at this moment in time, and he's doing it really, really well.
And we go to the third goal then. Aberdeen then get a goal. Mistake by Chuck Wani. In fact, Rangers was just messing about with the ball at the back actually for a wee bit of time. Scott, they were passing it back and forward. They didn't really need to. Chuck Wani then plays a pass which is won by the Aberdeen player. And to be fair, a really good pass in and good finish. Give them the credit there. It was they played
It
it well.
happens a lot more than we think, though. That I've seen that quite a few times in transitions, in turnovers.
I
We do
just the
that
wrong
quite a
pass.
lot.
Aye.
Just a bit like just a loss of concentration. We do that quite a lot, and we've gotten away with it for a bit. But I just worry with that sometimes. It's a common complacency for the last couple of weeks.
Certainly, when we went 2-0 up there, they could see complacency, you know, and that's how they get back into it. It was just that kind of passing it about, and the defenders have split because they've got the ball, and there's a big, massive gap when Chuck Whanney loses it. So it was an error. But the good thing was, Scott, they actually recovered very quickly, and within about 5-10 minutes, I think it was 10 minutes later, we get the free kick from Tav. I think he won the free kick himself, puts a good ball in, ball kind of spins down, and Raskin with a good finish. Now, I suppose Raskin has a bit of abuse a lot of time recently. Not abuse is maybe too strong a word, but he's been one of the ones been getting criticised more because he's been there longer. But if you look at yesterday, he played the ball for Romans for the goal. He won the ball back from Nadiri for the pass to Moore, and then scored the third goal. So I think you would said before the pot, I thought he did an excellent game.
Yeah, I thought he played really well, Gary. Saw that when I was watching the game, and then looking back at highlights, he looks even better. But he has been getting a bit of criticism. You can understand it to a point. We could expect more from Nico because he's a good player. But I watched that wee thing he done with Rangers TV, and he said he likes to play just side, he likes to play deeper. So goals isn't his real concern because he doesn't get up the park as much. But I always think he's better further forward. Don't know about you, but I think he's better middle to front than he is sitting deep. That's just my preference. I think he's better. He can get in the box, he can jump, he can get into positions, he can take chances as we've seen. So I think he should be scoring more goals. But that's just my preference. But I've also heard, Gary, don't your take, even you can be people saying, would you still play him in the running because, or maybe watch him because he's got a World Cup in his mind, so he might not be getting 100%. I don't buy into that.
I think there might be some truth to it, in fairness.
I don't. I mean, if you're a professional footballer, you want to win. If that's the case, it's not just going to be him then, is it? There's going to be other players there. It's going to be doing the same thing. Other teams having players going to World Cup doing the same thing. So I just think it's your preference if you like Nico Raskin or not.
I think that it's one of the things it's a bit like when people talk about mentality and things like that. It's one of those things that it's hard to actually pinpoint. So you could argue that as you get close to the World Cup, you mentally drop off a wee bit because you don't know why you get injured. That's what people seem to suggest, that they'll not be able to fully focus while they're doing it, based on nothing other than just somebody's opinion. Similarly, you could argue that somebody like John Suter or Asgard or Scov Olsen, who's not getting in the national squads because are not playing it currently, would then actually be switch off as well because they're not playing. You know, I'm not sure that's how footballers work. Cameron, you'll know better than we will, but I think somebody like that, the suggestion would be Asgard get knocked back for Norway, for example, so he should be in a huff and not make an effort. And that's not really how it goes, isn't it? Do you know, same with Raskin, we get to 5 games to go and he'll think, do you know what, do I get injured? I'm going to stop running, stop tackling. I'm not quite.
Yeah, but
some people it might be for some.
Yeah, but you see that. I mean, Matundo's been picked for the Wales squad. Guy's not playing a game for 18 months.
That's because you're getting players.
Yeah, but I've always believed. I love Raskin. I think he's a great player, but I've always believed he's in the business for himself. He'll do what's best for him, and I think maybe sometimes an element of we sometimes think too passionately as fans because we are fans, and if it was us in that position, we'd put club over country every day of the week. But for a lot of these players, they've got no emotional ties to the club other than a financial package, to be quite honest.
They've got professionalism, but and I think that will come into it with a lot of them. I don't think they'll chuck it. If you can say that, if that's the case, then you just finish the season 4 months before the World Cup starts because you don't want your players to chuck it before that. Do you know what I mean? You can say that about any player going to a World Cup. Doesn't matter who they play for. I've only heard it aimed at anybody else, which I think is quite poor.
Do you not think then, just on that, so if you're 7 games to go in a league title race and you're a professional footballer, your competitive instinct alone to get to that level would mean that you're going to be fully focused to try and win that title? I can understand if there's nothing to play for and you started down tools a little bit, but I think it's a bit different surely if you're right in the mix for winning a trophy because that's what you play football for.
Yeah, I mean, I've played at a certain level. I know some people, they just play it for the money, no other reason. They couldn't care if they get relegated. I mean, you look at Spurs players don't care if they get relegated. They're just there to pick up money. So it can happen. People can have attitudes like that. So I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe Nico is just hit bad with the form. He's given 110%. But I just find personally with footballers, they're in it for themselves, to be quite honest.
And you know what? Even if that's the case, and people are in it for themselves, and what that does, it pushes them to get into the World Cup squads or get to be first pick in the World Cup team. And it's not about the club football, and it's more about achieving their own goals. If it helps Rangers be successful, I don't really care. If I'm being brutally honest,
Yeah, that's like, we go back to Hearts. That's why Hearts are top of the league, because they play as a team.
Mm.
There's no players as individuals. They play as a team, and that's why they're top. And I think an issue with Rangers Celtic this season, at times they've been too individualistic with the players that play for the team. It's because I'm jet lagged, mate. I'll be honest. I'm jet lagged. Give me a break. I want my bed.
Anyways, we finished the game, so we brought in a lot of sub Scott. As I say, Gassama come on, played really well, and does what he does. He looks confident, drives at people in that last 15 minutes. Yeah, Barron coming on, who adds a bit of value to the team when he's playing. I think he's all energy. Ant-Man actually quite impressed me. Some nice touches, and does what he's good at, is getting the ball in. Good cross. I think it was Nadiri had a header at the time, as well as obviously Majovski. And interesting, I'm only going to pick this up because I thought it was interesting that everybody loves Romans, and we all do, and I think he's fantastic. But for a 10-minute spell, he was getting ripped apart by Keskin and then brought in the goal, which is really good management. But it's funny, because people like him, they don't mention the fact that he was struggling really badly that 10 minutes.
Yeah, but Romans has been like that since, I know he came injured, didn't he? And he's never really lasted a full match. So I think maybe hitting the 65, 70 minute, his legs start to get tired. Right. You've seen that in the last few games.
It's not criticism, it's more the amusement that people...
It's all come up, and I know a couple of people in the chat have mentioned all this attack on Kotlani. To me, it should have been a red card, but that's just my take on it. When I seen it on TV, I thought that's a bad one, and then seen it again, I went, that's a poor tackle. If it was 10, probably say 20 years ago, I would say no. But the way football is, that's a red card these days. But as you know, with my opinion on VAR, they didn't think that. But I think it was a pure challenge.
Do you know what? At the game, actually, I'm watching it. I thought it was a yellow card at the game. Now I've seen the slow motions and the things that you do, and it looks a really bad tackle on that. I've not seen it properly because it don't show you in the highlights either. That I've seen stuff.
I think he gets away with it because his foot's angled slightly down. To be honest, it's the only reason I can think why they've kept it as a yellow. I mean, it is dangerously high, to be honest, and I never liked the whole rule of your studs have to be up for it to be a red, to be honest, because you can still do equally as much damage, especially if he connects with his knee. He could break his knee. So I just think it's an interpretation of the rules.
What we use now, Cameron, you might have missed this. It's a glancing blow. If it glances off the shin and hits some other part of the body, it's all right. Apparently, from
what is this boxing? What is this boxing?
That was the outside Chamberlain one. A glancing blow off the shin that marks the shin, but as long as it hits the foot afterwards, it's all right. I think he
must look like a thesaurus before the show, thinking what words can I use today.
It was crazy. But in terms of other subs in Cam, so Ant-Man I thought done quite well. I think he's one of these ones again, a bit like Asgard. You've watched him and think, there's something there, but he's never been quite able to put it together either through injury or through loss of form. But he has that kind of technical ability and I suppose attacking ability down that right hand side.
Yeah, but you see, I think the thing with Ant-Man, I think he suits. I mean, personally, when I watched Aberdeen, they didn't sit in a low block particularly. I don't think they were actually surprisingly quite high. I was quite shocked how high they were. So I think that suits players like Ant-Man who have got space to run into, and I think that's why we were saying before how Gassama looked okay when he came on, because he had space to run into and space to drive, especially because he likes to come into the middle of the pitch. So I think with Gassama and Ant-Man, you're going to see them be a bit more positive in these types of games. My only worry with Ant-Man is when he plays against a low block, he seems quite ineffective. Yeah. He doesn't really drive at players. He drives at space, and when there's no space, he just turns and go backwards. Or maybe there's an element of he's still got Russell Martin scar tissue. Because we all saw the guy had no training session, came in, was unbelievable against Pilsen, and I'm yet to see that player since. So who knows?
I think that's probably why a lot of these guys look better at Ibrox as well. And it's one that's in the way games have struggled because the low blocks there and they're sitting really deep. The pitch is narrow, the pitch is tight. The crowd's right top of you, whereas there's a bit more. It's a bigger pitch. Seems a lot more room to play, which is probably where Ant-Man and Gassama have played their most promising games. I don't think I can barely think of a good away game either that's played over the course of the season.
Not for a while.
So we have a few chances. We're very dominant as usual. Last 10 minutes, Scott. There's a couple of things. We think we scored the goal, as we talked about already, that was disallowed through Barron's handball to 38 seconds earlier, and then we get a free kick, 94th minute, and for the first time in a while, actually, I was trying to think when the last time Tav scored a free kick. Probably a while ago. It's not been what somebody's done. There's a lot of them, but really good free kick, beautiful, right at the top corner, right off. Always good when it hits off the underside of the bar, and keeper had no chance.
No, it was a great free kick with Tav, and as soon as you had it, you knew it was going in, didn't you? Well, you're watching the TV, you knew it was going straight away.
No, he did it again as well.
It was a great free kick, and I hope we can get a couple more of them before the end of the season. But that's what I like to see him doing, scoring stuff like that, because the last couple of free kicks he's had have been poor, but this one, as soon as I had it, knew it was a goal. But on the goal, we get disallowed, I have to say. The Deary was unlucky with the wee back flick to Mioski. It was a really nice touch as well. So you can see the team's getting a bit of confidence, Gary. And I know you mentioned Ant-Man and Sama stuff. I still think they're better commands impact players. So I do, because when other teams are tired, they get pace to get in. But when we play away from home, teams don't sit as deep as they do when they come to Ibrox. When they come to Ibrox, they sit deeper. Unless it's maybe Motherwell, Hearts, Celtic. You know what I mean? But the other teams sit, when we go to Falkirk, they'll probably not sit deep. So we will have space to plenty. It's just we're having to use the space well. And that's what we've not done. We had space against it one as well, but didn't really use it. So we have to start using the space better and taking our chances. Because we're creating chances, it's just taking the chances. That's been the issue in the last few games. And it's good the midfielders scored, but they're not going to score every week. So the strikers are going to have to chip in with a goal every so often as well.
See, somebody in the comments can tell me if Tav scored another free kick this season. I can't remember one. There may have been some. Does it ring a bell for me? Scott, Cameron, ring any bells? Any other free kicks he scored this season? I think it.
All I know is that he's number 5 now in the highest scoring defenders of all time. I think number 5 or number 4.
I had a look earlier on, because obviously, as Alan says, I love that goal. As you do, we're nearing the end. I'm going to enjoy every minute of those last 7 games that he's here. 560 appearances so far, 144 goals, 148 assists. I think I read earlier on, so it'll never be seen again in terms of there. But no, wonderful free kick, and as well as that, he did a couple of other good efforts that were unlucky. And I think that's, as you say, Cameron, the biggest issue is he scored 14 goals and 6 assists this season, by far more goals and assists than any other player, despite the fact that he's honking every week, apparently.
Mate, it's Connor Goldston said it. We won't know what we had until it's gone. I know that he gets a lot of criticism, but I mean, even Barry Ferguson, the guy who literally bleeds blue, even came out and said, "Nah, the guy's a real deal." From a mentality perspective, and even when you've got people like Barry Ferguson coming out and saying that, I agree. He's aging. He's 34. He's not at his best. He's not at his peak, and that happens. But he's still got a lot to offer. I know at times he can frustrate the hell out of us, but I think he's just showing he still contributes to this team massively, and has done so time and time again. So.
I don't. So Scott, you said this a few times. It seems for probably Tav will get another season. I don't think he will, and I think he'll probably will leave at the end of the season. I think it's probably right, especially if they win the league. I actually think it would be a good thing to just go away and that's him, leave the legacy there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should leave at the end of the season, but just there's doubts in my mind that you might get another season, just not play as many games next season, but still contributing. He's a good influence on the by all accounts. I don't know, Gary. It's just my opinion. But like I said, if it was myself, I would leave if I was Tav. But if he offered another year and he'd been here that long, and he can tell he does love being at Rangers, and I don't know. I think he probably would take it for another year. But hopefully he moves on, because I think it would be better to leave his legacy. But you say if you win the league, it's great. But if you don't win the league, you might be chapping it a bit another year, because I might think next season the team's going to get better again.
Yeah, I won't be opposed to him staying, because I think you need sometimes players who have kind of done it with a club, just in and around the place. Even if, like you say, he's a rotation player, all right, he probably knows he's probably not going to start. To be fair, I mean, he might end up back down in Yorkshire, but I don't see any harm in just giving him a 1-year contract, keep him as a rotation player.
No, and we'll see, where we go. So from the oldest player in the team to the youngest player in the team, Cameron, it'd be remiss of me not to bring up Mikey Moore, as the stadium announcer likes to say every single time. He had a really good game. He scored a goal. I think it's 6 goals he scored this season now. And I think one of his issues is a 19-year-old boy, so his end product sometimes is a bit wayward. But his actual energy, his effort, his technical ability, and his goal, probably again, lovely touch to just move the ball aside before he curled it in. Really good game from him, and he's been performing, I suppose, beyond his years, to use that old cliche recently.
Yeah, I think he's just shown great character. I think he's one of those players who's risen to the challenge. Again, he's one of those. He's got that rare quality that very few players have nowadays, where it's a bit old-fashioned, but taking in the game by the scruff of the neck. He'll just pick up the ball and say, I'm going to do something, or I'm going to try and do something. It doesn't always work, which can be frustrating, but I think that's why the fans have taken to him. He's positive, even when all the other players on the pitch are negative. But yeah, he definitely seems to be developing. He seems to be enjoying his time at Rangers. I'd love to see him for another season, but I do think it's unlikely, as Spurs' relegation looks more and more likely. So, I can only hope that he's here next season, even if it is only on another loan. But if not, let's just enjoy him for these last 7 games, because he's going places. He will go to the very top.
I think, Scott, in terms of Mikey Moore, I mean, you can see he's 18-year-old. He's rated as one of the best young prospects in England, and you can see that he has the technical ability, has the attitude, I suppose has the desire to succeed, which is one of the things you need at that level. And I think, if I've been totally honest, I think people are a bit crazy to think that he's going to be here next year. I think it's highly unlikely. There's a 1% chance, because why would Tottenham, as Cam says, there's a fair chance he'll be playing in Tottenham first team next year. But if not, it's unlikely they're going to want to send him back to us. But I think you enjoy him for the 7 games he's got left. He'll have grown and developed in here, and that's what he's here to do.
I think this season for Mikey Moore's been a real learning curve, considering when he came through the door with Russell Martin to now. He's been through a lot of probably personal agony, because we weren't playing great. He was getting a wee bit of abuse. People are saying, why do we sign a young boy for England? He's not going to come up here and learn, but he's dug deep. He's dug really deep. He's shown us what he can do. His mental strength has improved. His physical strength, I think, for when he came through the door, Gary, he was a wee boy, but now he doesn't look like a wee boy. You know, it's like he's a man in the team. He's probably our main man at times, but he's so good at football. And the thing I like about him is, like Cam alluded to, he never hides. Doesn't matter if he's playing well or playing bad, or he's trying to go by somebody 3 times and not achieved it. He still goes, fuck it, I'm going to try it again. And he always create. Maybe at times he makes the wrong pass, or holds on to the ball too long, and he gets frustrating. He's 18. Do you know that way? And he's going to be learning so much putting what is this season. The last 7 games are going to have to enjoy. I don't see him coming back. I think no matter if Spurs stay up or Spurs go down, he's part of that squad next season at Tottenham. Because at least if he's playing with Spurs, the fans will appreciate what he gives. Because watching that Spurs team, I watched them on Sunday, their players don't give a toss, like Cameron alluded to. And some of them does. Boys like Archie Gray does, who's another young boy. He was trying, but see the big name signings, especially 2 centre-backs, they don't care. They actually don't care. And you can see as soon as if Spurs get relegated to the Spurs stay in the Premier League, they're too last to get away, to go somewhere better, because they think they're better than what Spurs are, but they're part of the problem. So I think he'll probably go back to Tottenham and be part of their first team squad next season. And good luck to him if he does. He's signed a contract until, by all accounts, 2030. Somebody could tell me I'm wrong, but that's what I've heard, because he signed a new deal, didn't he, before he came to us. So, plus, I know people are saying, why don't we buy him for like 25 million? But it doesn't matter how much. You can't spend money like that for players when you play in Scotland. Just enjoy his 7 games. No doubt he'll be back up here at some point. You're supporting us, and you never know, he might come back in the future, but enjoy him while he's here.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't want us to go bust again. I don't want to go back to the banter years. So just hell no.
Just change the name of Man City, make be all these charges and overspend.
Yeah, getting title strips. That'd be a field day, wouldn't it? But just one thing. I mean, Moore said in an interview recently, he did say, if it's right for me to stay, I'll stay. So he will have options. And I don't believe that there'll be any kind of loyalty to the club. If we're not in Champions League next season and he gets offers from other teams who maybe are or playing in a higher league, he'll most likely go there, because he's an ambitious kid. Right. If he gets a better offer from elsewhere, he'll go there. And let's not forget, we've got a young boy in Finley Curtis coming back, who may reach the same levels as Moore.
Yeah.
So,
one of my mates, a Spurs season ticket holder, stays in Bournemouth in England. He's a Spurs fan, but he was saying that the Spurs fans want him back because they've all watched him what he's been doing at Rangers, and no one knew he would do it. They're actually quite surprised he wasn't given a chance this season because
but like you,
really well.
But like you said,
but you probably a bit like us with Finley Curtis. I wanted him to stay, but he's out and improved himself. Mikey Moore's done the same as he's going to go back a better player.
But the thing is, as well with Spurs, they're kind of looking at players who don't give a toss. But you just mentioned players like Alex Gray who really care. Yeah. They'd rather have 7 or 8 players, youngsters who really care, who have got potential in what they've got at the moment. So that's the battle you face.
Yeah. I've not watched a lot of Spurs, but one thing I would say, if you want somebody that shouldn't be a captain of a team, that Romero is one of them. He's a guy that plays for himself. He'll just go through somebody if he's not happy, and I really disappointed. And as you say,
Aberdeen's just as bad. What you want to call him? He's just as bad. The other week they played 2 young boys at centre back. I think it was in maybe a European game, but they played really well. And then that manager changed it back to they 2. And it's like, why did you go back to 2 guys who just constantly get sent off and don't give a shit?
That Vicario's garbage. I'm better than him. Seriously, I'm better than him.
But that's a whole different argument of the Premier League and the money they spend and the quality player they buy and how where they are at times is quite frightening. But anyway, in terms of Mikey Moore, I think you can really see. Do you know what? Any good loan signs you start off seeing these be developed and come the end of it, they're actually at a stage whereby they've really grown into their role, and that's what he's done. And it's not often we have a proper loan that works in the same way. You might have Cherny, who's an experienced player that come in and done the job, but from a young player developing and then moves on, that's fine. I'm happy with that. And as it says here, we maybe bring back Finley Curtis. Finley scored his first goal. I'm sure you would that in replay over and over again.
I've watched this. Even put it on VHS, Gary. I'm not mad about it. No, listen, Finley's got all the abilities as well, all attributes. He's out in his game time. It's improved him. It's vastly improved him. They've all come back and he'll be challenging for the first team next season. And I've no doubts because the boy has quality. And he's another boy that wants to prove himself at Ibrox because he's a Rangers fan. And that's what you want. What Cam just said, you want guys who care. And he cares about the club. And I don't know if maybe it's been successful elsewhere, but when he's going to come on under 2 guys he knows, it's probably helped him as well.
I think that's been a big thing, Cameron, actually going to Neil McCann and Billy Dodds, and it's probably the right club for him at the right time.
Yeah, but I think sometimes with loan players, I think there's a tendency to loan them out to clubs. I mean, say if you're a tricky winger, last thing you want to be doing is playing for a team that just play a long ball. That's not going to develop you. So I think it was a good move for him because I think it's allowed for him to kind of get the ball and develop and play in a way that benefits him as well. So yeah, I think it's just a good move for all involved. Because if he's not going to play, get him out on loan, get him playing, and it's clear that Roll has him in his plans for next year. I think that's very clear. So I'm excited to see what he can do because we saw what he could do at the start of the season, and that was kind of when he was first arrived. So he can only get better. So
4-1 finishes. We're 3 points behind. We have now a 2-week break for players to go on international duty, of which there is probably about half a dozen. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then also a break for some of them to actually recharge the batteries, get themselves fully fit. Guys like Romans and Nadiri, people like that have been carrying little knocks. Some of the other players that are there, Sterling, and get himself injured in between that 2-week period, and all the stuff that goes with it. So I suppose as it sits now, we come back at the beginning of April. There's a 7-game period whereby it will make or break the season. You win it, you're a hero. You lose it, Danny Rowe's under pressure again. But I think from reading some of the stuff, it's interesting because you read it, Cameron, and you said Hearts have the best defensive record, but since Danny Rowe win, we've got the best defensive record, best scoring record, create the most chances, get the best set pieces, all that stuff that goes with it. Everything's trending. Would they use that terminology? Everything's trending in the right direction. Whereby if it continues the way it has for the last 25 games or so, it should be extremely close.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I maintain that I think this will go down to the last day. I really do. I don't see there being a clear win on the last day by 4 or 5 points. I generally think it will go down to the last day. But I mean, the data trends only tell one side of the story, in my opinion. I think, I still think there's more twists and turns to come here. To be fair, Paul Patrol. Fucking hell. Oh, God, it's ruined me. Jesus.
For those that are listening to Spotify, so somebody's put in the comments, Cameron was straight in his Paw Patrol jammies after this has been. Is that true? Is it Paw Patrol or is it Star Wars ones or what's the?
No, it's Bob the Builder.
Bob and Bill, that's it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, dating trends only tell one side of the story, but I think whatever happens now, it's just who can be the most consistent. I think if we can continue to show the numbers that we're showing, I think we'll be okay. I'm convinced that the last game of the season will be Rangers Hearts at Tynecastle. I agree with that. I think in some way these splits are rigged. I really do. There's absolutely no way that they won't look at that and go, look at the money that could bring in. The winner wins the league of that game.
That would be aye. And then Glasgow City Centre cordoned off by 1,000 police so nobody can get near it. If it's
good. Good. I'm fed up of seeing videos of people pissing and shit in the street. Does me head in. And
just on that, when we think there, so the police federation, I don't know whatever the guy's name is, came out yesterday and talked a lot about the detail of this, Cameron, but you were away during the time. Obviously, there was the incident at Ibrox whereby fans were in the park, stuff was getting damaged, Rangers fans came on, and all that stuff that went with it. There's been a strange amount of condemnation at the start, but nobody really wanted to say too much because they're partly to blame as well. It's quite interesting watching and then it's been quite quiet for the last week or so. But this police, I think it's a union rep maybe or some sort of union rep for the police, talked about lack of police there, lack of management, lack of process. I suppose just you've read it, you've talked about it, you've seen it. You've not had a chance to comment on it. Any views?
I agree with kind of the general sentiment that they should never have got 7,500, and if they did, there should have been a much higher police presence than there was. We've all been to games, we've all seen stewards, the university students or pensioners. They're not equipped to deal with that at all. Just not even remotely. Half the time they won't even deal with a seating issue when someone's sat in your seat. They don't even want to deal with that. So I think both clubs staying quiet, I think stay quiet. They've both made statements, but I think everybody's just trying to pass the buck, to be quite honest. I think there's fault on all sides, to be fair, but no one's willing to take responsibility, and this will drag over months and it will slowly just fade away in the background. Yeah. But I personally, I'd have no away fans at all firms now because people can't behave.
Yeah, I would never.
Yeah.
We don't have an objection to that either, and that's something for another day. As we come to the end of the pod, then Scott, there's I suppose there's some of the other stuff that's been happening. What's it called? Club 1872 have put 250 grand in to Rangers to do up some of the stuff around the stadium, which will be useful. International breaks happening for a fortnight whereby a number of players are away. We have stuff around something else. I'm trying to think of something else. Graham Souness was talking about how Rangers are the best team in the league. We've got Kevin Thompson saying Rangers are the best team in the league. There's a couple of events on Edmonds House with Graham Souness and with Rangers Review and various other ones. So there's lots of things happening. But international fortnight is a time when we forget about Rangers, we forget about football, and we try and chill out and relax. And Scotland play against some nation I've never heard of. I don't even know who it is. Japan's one of them. Japan. Japan, obviously, but there's another one. I don't know who the other one is.
Northern Ireland are playing Italy on Thursday night, so a qualifier, yeah. I like Gary. I think, I've got a disability matter thing at Ibrox, Edmonds House on Thursday night to see about people with disabilities and stuff. So that's a thing I'm having. So I want to go to that. So I'll let you know how I go with that. I just applied to go because I was interested in it because it kind of affects me. So I thought I'll go and see what things are going to come up in because I know it's an issue. Do you know what I mean? Because I had to go up the club deck. I had to use the lift because I can't climb the stairs. If I climbed the stairs at the time I got to the top of the stairs, the game would be finished. So I had to go up the lift. So things like that. So I through my deals, I asked to go and I got a ticket. So I'm going to go on Thursday and see what the kind of things are doing for the games for people with disabilities and stuff like that. So it'll be good to listen to that. So I'll let you know how that gets on. But yeah, that national break. Some people like international football. Some people don't. I used to. Not anymore. I went to a Scotland game since I played France. Now McLeish was the manager. That's how long ago it was. So it's been a long time. So I just enjoy it. There'll still be football on, but not be Rangers, sadly. But hopefully we come back and hit the ground running again like we finished here. So that'd be good to know that. But we can, don't about you, but we can probably miss Monday next Friday if you want for a week, two points. No,
We'll certainly miss Friday. I think we should miss Friday. So Cameron, you're just back, unfortunately, and we're going to take a night off Friday. But I think we'll maybe come back on Monday.
We can miss Friday, Monday, no?
Well, we will.
What do you want to see?
We'll see. If Ricky's back, Cameron's back, we might want to come back and do some sort of show on Monday night. We'll definitely miss Friday. So take Friday off. There's international games on. We'll see where we're at next Monday. Hopefully we're back then. And other than that, really, do you know, it's time now to enjoy an international break. It's time to realise that there's a title race ongoing. It's time do you know what was actually one thing I should say for being at the game on Saturday? The atmosphere was really, really good. Really good. And I don't know why. There was just a change of dynamic. I don't know whether it's because the game started at 5:45 and half the people were half cut at that point, but it was much more organic singing. The Broomland Road Scot was singing away before the Union Bears even started their song. You know, the whole place was a lot more vociferous, which is good to see. And here's hoping for the next few home games. That's certainly the case because that'll help drive us forward, which is good to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better when the crowd are singing, everybody's behind the team. The players get a lift, we get a lift. And that's that. You said, and even on the TV when Aberdeen scored, you didn't hear any grumbling. Yeah. And the players didn't. Now, sometimes when Celtic scored against us, you can see the players going, shit. But didn't do that against Aberdeen. It was like, when they're going to get a win here, and they went and done it and not very comfortable. So there will be games like that we'll get scored against, and it's just up to the players to believe in themselves. Because if they do, we can see what if they do that, we see what they can do. Yeah. But it's to believe in themselves every game. But just to say, we've only lost 2 games this season. I think that's the best in the UK. I could be wrong. I think so.
Doesn't matter whether it's wrong. It sounds good. We'll stick with it. We'll count it as true. There's a comment from Alan. How's Ricky? Hopefully he's doing all right. So Ricky is on the group chat and he's talking. And I wake up in the morning because of time differences. Him and Cameron have been on for hours with these messages, and there's too many that I can't respond to him. But he's engaging. He's there. He seems safe enough. I think I don't know if he's on a boat still or whether he's actually on a port but he'll hopefully be back within the next couple of weeks. By the time our national break comes, hopefully Ricky may be back on the show. I think it must be due to return home if he can get there around about that sort of time. So he thanks you for your concern. He knows his fans are waiting for him and they're missing him. He will be back as soon as he possibly can. So
only fans, really.
Wouldn't want to see Ricky on the fans, would you? Anyhow, on that note, Cameron, it's good to have you back.
Good to be back.
Go and get those cartoonish pajamas on then.
Get me Bob the Builder track pajamas on.
Get yourself to bed. And Scott, enjoy your week. We will hopefully everyone's a great time. We will see you next week at some point, be that Monday or Friday, depending on what news has been over the course of the week. And thank you everybody for watching. Thanks for contributing. Please like, share, and subscribe, etc., etc. Take care, everybody. Bye now.